Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Tuning In with Civics and Citizenship with Luci and Ebony. We've chosen Civics and Citizenship based around the Melbourne Declaration of 2017, I think it was. It stated that a goal for education in Australia would be for young Australians to become active and informed citizens. And from this, it is clear that teaching students civics and citizenship is integral in the achievement of this educational goal. Westheimer and Kahn define an active citizen as a combination of being informed, responsible, law-abiding, and willing to volunteer in a crisis. An active member of community organisations who supports and plays a part in leading concerted collective efforts to improve their communities and adopts a critical stance to structural inequalities and processes and seeks to bring about this change. Peterson and Bentley outline why there is a focus on active citizenship, citing Senate committees and other research. The bulk of the research they refer to comes from the mid-80s to the mid-2000s, and they state that young Australians have low levels of political knowledge and understanding, and that this transcends into the broader Australian population. They state that the key with education in critical thinking ability and engagement in politics, rather than just community engagement, comes from problems such as implementation of effective teaching, political bias, and general apathy towards politics from teachers. I think this is really something that we should be changing about students and how civics and citizenship is taught. It should ensure that students do not only become active citizens, but they are taught to think critically about the information that they are given to become a part of Australia. So with our primary focus being on civics and citizenship, we chose Canberra for our inquiry place. Formally constructed and named in 1913, Canberra is our nation's capital and the central hub for all things government, politics and parliament related. Given this obvious link between civics and citizenship and Canberra, we thought it would be a great way of engaging students as they draw connections between place and content. Of course, when most people think of Canberra, they think of Parliament, politicians and the like. So I assumed that when asking students what they think about Canberra, they're likely to answer the same thing. They might talk about the Anzac Memorial, Questacon as well. But posing questions such as these: why is Canberra our capital city? What do you think the word democracy means? Is there anything that you know about Canberra that could help you work out what democracy means, and why is Canberra still important to us as Australians today? Enable us as teachers to gather information about what they already know, their inferring skills, and perhaps how much they have already engaged with what Canberra means.
Okay, so our tuning in activity was focused obviously on Canberra, and we were trying to really give the students a sense of what it would feel like to be there. So our focus activities should provide students with the opportunities to become engaged with the topic, and we really felt like our tuning in activity was something that would get students thinking and feeling about what the topic was all about. So the tuning activity for this topic will see students enter the classroom that has been laid out similar to the House of Representatives. Students will be asked to enter the class quietly and take a seat. Audio from Parliament will be playing for the first few minutes. After students have sat, listened and made connections to any prior knowledge they may have, they will be asked to complete a thinking routine called Think, Puzzle, Explore. This will see students answer the following prompts. What do you think you know about this topic? What puzzles you about this topic? And how might you like to further explore this topic? Now, we've kind of tried to extend the very used thinking routine of Think, See, Wonder, and tried to build some more layers of audio and the seating structure, just to kind of see if we can kind of promote that thinking and get the students excited about the topic that they're about to learn. the humanities discipline. So this lesson will ultimately draw connections between civics and citizenship and geography and history. These connections will reflect the humanities discipline by creating multiple exposures to the topic and by accessing the content from different viewpoints. This will not only ensure student engagement, but will strengthen student understanding and enrich in lesson delivery and content. And we have the little journey of inquiry there.
So with the curriculum, the questions have been taken from the Victorian curriculum levels 5 and 6 for civics and citizenship. While our lesson plan is the first in a unit on democracy, the key questions from the curriculum are useful in this tuning in phase. They enable students to explore what they know about their topics and how they came to have the knowledge that they have. This is a key component in teaching students to be critically literate about where their knowledge comes as well. The Victorian curriculum strand down the bottom on the slide discuss the values, principles and institutions that underpin Australia's democratic forms of government and explain how this system is influenced by the Westminster system. There is an elaboration within that curriculum strand discussing the meaning and importance of the values and principles of Australian democracy, such as freedom, representation, majority rule, equality, fairness and justice would be the underlying idea that we would want students to explore over the course of the unit. We might pose questions such as how do we become engaged citizens of Australia and the world, as well as these questions that were in the curriculum.
We've included high impact teaching strategies wherever possible within this lesson, and obviously that would carry through the unit. This is to create a cohesive and structured lesson that provides multiple opportunities for students to demonstrate success. Collaboration has been incorporated so that students can find out what they know, what others know, and how they can organise and share that knowledge. Thinking routines see students using metacognitive strategies to unpack their thought processes and build upon prior knowledge. Questioning engages students, inspires curiosity, and assists the teacher and student in deciphering which concepts are understood and which need further exploring or explaining. By designing a lesson that provides multiple exposures, teachers are also catering to learner differentiation. Verbal feedback, opportunities for peer assessment and self-reflection provide students with the means to consolidate knowledge, scaffold learning, and pose new inquiry questions as they deepen their understanding. This lesson makes up part of a larger unit that would focus on the overarching question, why should we become engaged citizens of Australia?
So this is our this is our resource overview. We've basically just linked websites that have brilliant teaching resources that could be used to further explore democracy and Australia's involvement in voting as well. ABC education websites, how the Australian Parliament works, wonderful resource, and you'd really be able to link how the ABC is funded by the government there as well. The Australian Electoral Commission, again, really good website, backed by the Australian curriculum, alongside the Australian Parliament House education system. Also with the tuning in phase, Kath Murdoch's website has also really good resources and information on the inquiry cycle of learning if you needed to brush up on how that all works as well. So our lesson plan starts.
Sorry.
That's okay. Our lesson plan starts with students having the expectation that students have achieved the level 3 and 4 civics and citizenship curriculum standards. This, again, as Lucy said before, is the first lesson for students working towards achieving the level 5 and 6 civics and citizenship curriculum standards. Students will also have experience with using knowledge organisers. They will also be well versed in how to interview their peers, which comes into our lesson plan later. Our learning goal for this lesson is to make predictions about how Canberra and democracy are linked using our own knowledge and the knowledge of our peers. What we want to know as the teacher, we want to know how much the students already know about democracy and how well their peer interviewing skills are, just so we can formatively assess where they're at and what we as teachers have to do next. Our success criteria for the lesson is, at the end of the lesson, I will have demonstrated my understanding of Canberra and its significance as Australia's capital, and written a prediction about how Canberra and democracy are linked.
So we've broken our lesson up into a couple of parts, and the first part is really this tuning in activity again. As I mentioned before, it would just see students coming into an environment that would try to, as much as you can in a classroom, replicate some of the feelings or sounds that you would hear in the House of Representatives. We're hoping that this little tuning activity really places students in a different environment and kind of sparks different thoughts and curiosity and hopefully some questions. And then after that experience, they will then do that thinking routine of the think, puzzle, explore, and using these thinking routines to further inform teaching or ways of directing the learning.
So this is the second part of our lesson plan, and it really focuses in again on that tuning in part of the inquiry cycle. It focuses on the big question of why should we become engaged citizens of Australia. Students will come to the floor, sit in a circle, and each student will then answer the big question based on the amount of knowledge that they already have. It's something that they don't need to get right per se, they just need to be able to unlock what they already know and then be able to synthesize that into something that can be written, or at least verbally expressed and then synthesized into an answer with help. It also provides an opportunity to reflect on what they thought at the beginning of the unit, so they can come back, look at this poster, and then complete the same task at the end of the lesson to see how much they've progressed in building knowledge.
So students will be paired up and conduct interviews with each other. They will be given an interview question sheet that has some questions that are already written, but they will have the opportunity to add any questions if they see fit. The interview questions are on a slide further down, but this portion of the lesson will take approximately 40 minutes, and it's really probably taking the lowering the stakes. So when students are working independent or in pairs, collaboratively, kind of away from the whole class watching in or the teacher watching in, the whole idea is that we're hoping that we'll get some more answers out of them as the stakes are lower and students feel more comfortable to express what they already know about Canberra and government and how it all works.
So this is the sharing and reflecting part of the lesson. So after the students have conducted interviews, they're basically just going to get up in pairs and share what they've learned. If students want to ask any other questions about something one of the students knows, they are welcome to. The teacher should only be jumping in here to prompt questions and to coax further information or understanding, just so they have that ability to construct their own knowledge again. At the end of this, the students will be asked to write a prediction about how Canberra and democracy are linked. I predict that Canberra and democracy are linked through or by something like that. And that's the end of our lesson. These are just our interview questions. So have you ever travelled to Canberra? If so, what was it like? What stood out? Why do you think Canberra is Australia's capital. How do you think our Prime Minister is elected? Have you seen your parents vote? What is the process? What do you think democracy is? How do you think democracy links to Canberra?
Here we have a list of the references that we used to support our research in this lesson, and that concludes our presentation. Awesome. Thanks, Ebony.
Cool, thank you.